Clones! Yep. So it was announced last week that the upcoming Spider-Man event, Dead No More, will actually be called The Clone Conspiracy. Hooray! Now, I'm sure some of you watching have either just groaned or sighed so loud that the neighbors can hear you, and when I heard this news, I was right there with you. Some of you may be happy with this news, but I think even you'll agree that you're in the minority here. The rest of you may be thinking, what the hell's the big deal? All they did was announce a title change. So they didn't just announce a new name for this event, they announced the concept as well. And it's a concept that longtime Spider-Man fans aren't too comfortable with. If you know anything about Spider-Man comics, you're probably familiar with the Clone Saga and the dread that those three words bring up. For those of you who don't know, or maybe just heard the title and don't know what the big deal is, the Clone Saga was a major ongoing Spider-Man epic released between 1994 and 1996 and spanned every ongoing Spider-Man title at the time. It is considered to be, without hyperbole, the single worst thing to ever happen to Spider-Man. Yes, worse than One More Day. Yes, worse than Andrew Garfield. And yes, worse than that new costume he's wearing in the PS4 game. It was a confusing, overwritten mess marred with a lot of behind-the-scenes shakeups and controversies. What started as a simple story morphed into this unwieldy disaster that was trying to rival similar events of the time like Death of Superman, but in all the worst ways. The main idea of the story is really just Peter Parker and clone Ben Reilly fighting over who is the one true Spider-Man. But that is a gross oversimplification of it. That's not even going into the amount of times they flip-flop between who was the real Spider-Man and who was the clone, or the amount of other clones they introduced into the story, or the fact that out of nowhere Norman Osborn is revealed to be the mastermind of the whole thing, and he'd been dead since the 70s. And need I remind you, this went on for years, almost 3 years to be exact, and each and every month it just became more and more jumbled. Comic Vine says that there were 53 issues in this event, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's actually more. Now, for the sake of transparency, and to be completely honest, I have never read the Clone Saga. I don't have that kind of time. And to be honest, I don't think a lot of people who hate the Clone Saga have actually read it. It's sort of become this thing that we just accept is bad. Kind of like last year's Fantastic Four movie. But even reading reviews and summaries and retrospectives from people who have actually read the Clone Saga, the Mad Bastards, I think it's pretty safe to assume that this is one that should be forgotten. But for some reason, Marvel either hasn't forgotten or doesn't want to forget it because they keep bringing it up. There was a 6-issue miniseries remake released in 2009 by original architects Howard Mackie and Tom DeFalco in an attempt to try and tell the Clone Saga story as originally envisioned. There's also the Ultimate Clone Saga, which is shockingly credited for breathing new life into the Ultimate Spider-Man line. There's that one episode of the 94 animated series. There's the fact that all the trades are still in print. And now there's this, a new event involving clones and the original villain of the Clone Saga, the Jackal. Will this be any better? Yeah, probably. It's only going to last 5 issues instead of 3 years, so already that's a plus. But why clones? Why keep going back to this well? My only guess is that Marvel really wants to fix what they started. It's been almost 20 years since the original Clone Saga, and now seems like a good time to try and fix its place in continuity, or at least make it seem worthwhile. But still, why retread old ideas that didn't work? Why not retread ones that did work? Like Nothing Can Stop the Juggernaut or No One Dies, stories that show Spider-Man doing everything he can to save people no matter the cost. Or something like Spider-Man Blue or Best of Enemies, stories that showcase his personal relationships with his supporting cast, be it friend or villain. Next thing you know, Marvel's going to start revisiting other bad Spider-Man stories like One More Day or Reign. Speaking of One More Day, this news about the clone conspiracy comes hot on the heels of a rumor that that story, you know, the one where Spider-Man and Mary Jane sell their marriage to Satan for some reason, is going to be removed from continuity. Or if not outright removed or retconned, then at least undone. Now that would be awesome. 2 notoriously bad Spider-Man stories remixed and possibly undone for the price of one. You could sign me up for that. But what do you guys think about the clone conspiracy? Are you excited for it now, or were you more excited back when you didn't know it involved clones? Are you afraid that Spider-Man is going back to the clone well one too many times? Let me know down below or anywhere on the internet. As always, like if you like, subscribe if you really like, share this video with a friend. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Now, I say in some capacity because in the comic, she's hanging out with what appears to be the villain of the story. So who knows if this is a clone or mind control or anything other than the real authentic Gwen. I'm assuming it's going to be similar to Telltale's other recent games, something that's more of an old school adventure game, more focused on story and puzzles than it is on hardcore gameplay. Which is fine, but since this is Batman, I feel like it needs one more thing.